So I thought about changing my blue background to a red background for this video because, you know, Daredevil, that would have looked cool, except I wore a red shirt and I'm too lazy to go change it, so back to blue. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are reviewing Daredevil Season 3, a series I always love talking about. I don't actually think I've done a review of one of these seasons of Daredevil before. This is my first one. If you guys don't know, I love the first season, and I love the second season. This is one of my favorite shows on Netflix, so of course I was excited for Season 3. I binged the entire thing, watched every episode today. Well, technically yesterday. Today is Friday. I'm posting this on a Saturday. Friday is the day that I sat down and watched every single episode without stopping. The beauty of Netflix, you can binge as frequently as you want, except when you have to go to the bathroom and you realize after like 2 hours, man, I've had to pee for a long time now. And if you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. No spoilers in this review. If you think I should do a spoiler review, if there is enough to talk about, let me know in the comments down below. I might just do one, but right now we're talking non-spoilers, just a general consensus of how I feel of Season 3. I have talked enough. Austin, shut your mouth. We want to hear this review. All right, let's do it. Alright, so what did I like about Daredevil Season 3? Well, the things that I liked about Seasons 1 and 2 is that it kept the focus on the characters, even though at times it felt like it was getting a little convoluted, and that's nothing that took away from the overall, well, my overall thoughts on the series as a whole. It's just something I took issue with, but not something that I took issue with in Season 3. I think Season 3 is the strongest from a standpoint of, oh, we are keeping this as simple as possible. We have one main storyline, and then next to that, we have a bunch of small storylines, whereas in like Daredevil Season 2, we have like 3 major storylines happening at once, and at times it could feel a little like, oh, this is a bit much. And I love Daredevil Season 2, but I like how Season 3 went back to its roots, and I mean literally, if you have seen the trailer, you know that he kind of sticks with that black suit for the majority of the season. It's like when Spider-Man goes back to his original outfit in Spider-Man Homecoming, you just get that sense of like, oh, we are back to our roots, back to where we started from. Seeing Daredevil back, it's just like a black outfit with a black mask pulled over his eyes. I know it's so simple, but for the character, and mostly for nostalgic purposes from Season 1, I think it works so well. It is Daredevil and Matt Murdock getting back to his roots, and that's exactly what happens in this season. And in Episode 1, this season reintroduces us to this world. Now, we've had 2 seasons to build it, but it has been a while. It's been like 2.5 years since Daredevil Season 2. Now, yes, we got Defenders in between them. I thought the show was okay. There were parts I liked, parts I didn't like, but we get back into the smaller scaled story and it reintroduces us to the world that we know and, most importantly, the world that we love. We get a feel for what our heroes have been up to. It gives us a little taste of each storyline, storylines that they're going to explore deeper later on in the season, and then we go to Matt. We get to explore the psyche, what's going on in his head ever since he died in that building crash, the building explosion. I thought that was something that they would make a bigger deal. And yes, in the first few episodes it is. I just thought it would kind of carry on through the season, but I like that it didn't. I like, oh, Matt is back. Here he is. We're going to continue on with this story. And the story that they continue on with, I love. This might be my favorite plot story. We're talking like focusing on the characters of any season of any Marvel show on Netflix. My favorite part of this season is a spoiler. Now, I'm not going to do spoilers in this review, but at the end, after I give you my score, there's one thing I want to talk about, one thing that I think makes this show what it is. Yes, it's a major spoiler, but yes, it's a great point that I have to make in this review. So then we shift from Episode 1 to Episode 2, and we really get to explore the character of Ray, or Rahul Nadeem. Now, this is a character, when he was first introduced, I'm like, oh, here we go. We're adding another element to the plot. It's going to bog down the story that I know I'm going to care about. This is where I kind of have to slap my own arm a little bit. Austin, you get a little bit too worried. You're an impatient person. You have to wait and let it play out. And as his story progressed through each and every episode, as I got used and started to really love this character, I really started to appreciate the fact that they included this storyline, a storyline that ties together so beautifully at the end of the series. How they conclude this particular storyline at the end of this season is just like, wow, I am so glad we have this character played brilliantly by Jay Ali. So you have that storyline, right? Then you have Wilson Fisk. In comes the Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. I believe the best aspect of this Daredevil TV show in general. I mean, the guy comes in, his presence is felt. Even in the first few episodes when he gets like 1 or 2 major scenes, he makes the audience feel his presence. This is the Kingpin. This is what he's all about. He is going to play a giant role at the end of this season, and he does. His storyline was fantastic. Vincent D'Onofrio continues to give one of my favorite villainous performances we have seen from Marvel. And yes, he talks like this, but it works. It's more of like a Batman.
My apologies.
We can't forget about Foggy and Karen. You get to explore Foggy a little bit in the first few episodes, then Karen gets her own episode later on in the season, really kind of diving in her past. I liked that. I liked Foggy's presence. I think I'm liking him more and more. In season 1, when it first started out, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I love this interpretation, but you grow to love the guy. You just can't help it. Foggy's there. Foggy's the best friend, and he's a caring person. He's wrong sometimes, but he's a caring person. Oh, and I wrote this down, I have to say. The scene where he's sneaking around the parking garage talking about Daredevil in the first few episodes, that scene is, yeah. Then Wilson Fisk, you get it. You get his character. You understand why he is angry at Matt. You get why he's doing what he thinks he needs to be doing. You just understand his point of view. And for a villain, that's exactly what you need. That's what makes him such a beautifully fleshed out character. And this is the most fleshed out I believe we have ever seen him. All right, we've talked about episodes 1, 2, and 3. Episode 4, and this is really the last episode that I'm going to talk about individually and non-spoilers, but the hallway fight scene. Did anybody watch this show? Did you watch the hallway fight scene, the one take that's going on and you want it to keep going, then you think it's over? No, it's not over. We're still doing this thing, man. Was that just not awesome? From a filmmaking perspective, from what they had to do, how many takes do you think that took them? I don't know, but I'm so impressed with, most importantly, Charlie Cox. You know there were stunt doubles in there, but the guy, he just gets into this role. He is Daredevil. He is Matt Murdock. But that hallway fight scene, it might just be my favorite one, even defeating the one in season 1, because this one, wow. You don't just get action from Daredevil either. You get some action from Karen. You get Foggy going in, and he's not really using his fists, but he's using his mouth. You know that speech that he gave in that one episode? I don't know if I bought it as much as the police officers, because it kind of felt scripted. Maybe that's what he was going for because he is a lawyer, but yeah, I'll look past that. And then throughout the next few episodes, it slows down a little bit, but you get time to flesh out these characters as the story develops and you start to figure out what is actually going on. What is the point of season 3? Once you figure that out, I believe you will get on board with it. Somebody that I have not talked about yet, Austin, why haven't you talked about? And if you've watched the trailers, if you've seen the marketing, this is not a spoiler. I'll give you time to click away if you want to. Okay, Bullseye. You know Bullseye's in here. Are we going to get a good interpretation? Yes. You don't just see Bullseye. You see how Bullseye became Bullseye, how he was molded into that character, how he becomes this villainous creature. I loved his backstory. I loved all of the fleshing out that he got. You see the progression. You don't see it coming at the beginning, but the more things that start happening, you're like, oh, eesh, this guy. I will save my final point for him at the end of this review, but I just want to tell you guys, Bullseye, something to behold in season 3 and a great interpretation. Oh, I said I was done with the episodes. There's something that happens at the end of episode 11 where I'm like, yes, you got an audible reaction. Anytime you get an audible reaction like The Haunting of Hill House when I screamed out of horror, this time I screamed out of excitement. Oh yeah, that's cool. Why do I sound like Mark Wahlberg? Say hi to your mother for me. Then we get into like the finale of the season, right? I will say that spans from 12 to 13, so you get 2 episodes fleshing out the ending to this story. And I will say, even though the ending wasn't exactly how I pictured it in my head, maybe 3 episodes prior, it still ended on a note that I think makes you happy that you sat through all of these episodes. It ends on such a good note, and I love some of the shots at the end. I love some of the fight scenes. There is this giant fight scene in episode 13 that I thought was just like, man, awesome stuff. There's also a scene in episode 12, and I won't say who it is, but Matt is walking this guy around telling him who to shoot, and he's acting like a blind man. It is one of the most interesting things that I have ever thought about seeing from the character of Daredevil. It is Daredevil. That is one thing this series has going for it, is this interpretation of Daredevil. I don't ever want to see another one. Charlie Cox, you are my Daredevil. Before I get into my final point, just some minor negatives. I don't have too many. Like I said earlier, it does slow down in the middle. Some of the episodes where you're fleshing out individual characters, I think may have taken the focus away from the big story a little bit too much. It never shifted back like I wanted to. It just kind of sticks with that character. For a lot of people, I think that's going to work. For me, it worked. I'm just saying maybe they could have pulled it back a little bit and gave us like 25 to 30 minutes instead of an entire episode pretty much. The final shot, not the final scene, not the final episode, the final like 2 seconds is really cheesy. I didn't want cheese in Daredevil. This is really the only shot that I can recall that had a lot of cheese to it. It's a quick zoom, it zooms into something, and it's a tease for something that's coming later. I thought it was just kind of like, oh, they could have pulled that off a little bit less like cringeworthy. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited about what they set up. I'm just saying, it's a little cheesy. Not every conversation progresses the series, and what I mean by that is sometimes there are conversations that are just kind of pushing this point, a point that doesn't really have to do with the overall storyline, and at times I'm sitting there like, could this have been 10 episodes instead of 13? I know that's a lot to shrink down into 10 episodes, and you don't want to do that. You want to have enough time. 13 episodes seems a little long. Maybe when you're sitting down watching every single episode without stopping, it's going to seem that way. If you watch like 3 at a time, you may not have the same problems that I have, but at times I had a couple of issues with the pacing. It got a little slow, but really, I don't have any major negatives. This season was one of the best seasons of television I have watched all year. And because of all of those incredibly amazing things, I'm going to give Daredevil Season 3 a 94%. You guys know how tough I am on ratings. A 94% for 13 episodes of a season is incredible, guys. What I love about the relationship between Poindexter and Fisk is it reminded me of Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. That kind of molding him into what he is today. Also like the Joker and Harvey Dent, not to that level of insanity, but kind of to that extent, as in he molds him. He starts with him. He has faith that he's going to do what he wants him to do, but Poindexter's kind of like, no, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be my man. But William Fisk, being the mastermind, the kingpin that he is, starts to figure this man out and knows that he can create this villain, this creature out of him, and that's exactly what he does. He says it. I want to create the next villain for this city, and he does exactly that. He basically creates Bullseye out of this kind of mentally deranged guy, this stalker, this weirdo who does have problems of his own. You're not completely against Bullseye because you do realize all of the things that he suffered in his past, and that one episode where you get to see all of the black and white flashbacks through the perspective of Kingpin. I thought that episode was incredible. Since we're talking spoilers, you're killing my guy, Ray. What are you doing? We have this beautiful setup, and I start to care about his character, and then by episode 8, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like him. I hope he becomes part of the team. He doesn't become part of the team. He dies. But I really liked how they handled his death, and he really did save the day. It's just so sad. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Sorry it was longer than normal, but hey, 13 episodes of Daredevil Season 3. What are you gonna do? You guys are the absolute best. Let me know what you want me to review next. Next weekend, we have more Netflix series and movies. I haven't looked into what's coming out, but I'm sure there are some things. I'm starting to do these Netflix things hard. I'm taking my entire Friday every single week, calling off of work, being like, hey, listen, I gotta do my YouTubes because I want the people to interact and talk about the movies that you love or you don't love. Get in that comment section. Let's start a discussion. Thank you for liking this video. That really helps me and encourages me to do more things like this. You guys are the absolute best, and I'll catch you later.